What if I told you that these bills will be part of a museum in a few years? Can you believe it? Imagine dollars.
Can you believe it was in a museum display case?
This could be real or maybe not, just imagination. Today we're going to talk about an incredible topic, which is something really new in recent years, called cryptocurrencies, or more specifically, Bitcoin. As an example, I'm going to explain from beginner to advanced levels. What does that mean? I think this video is relevant. For someone who doesn't know what Bitcoin is, doesn't know what a cryptocurrency is, doesn't know what a blockchain is, doesn't know anything about virtual money, or someone who is an expert in cryptocurrencies. If you're an expert, you might ask, what can you tell me that I don't already know? How will talking to me like a beginner benefit me? Listen to the end of the video, and I'm sure that what you're going to hear in this video is very likely something you haven't heard in any other video about cryptocurrencies or Bitcoins. Well, let's start talking about this incredible phenomenon that is cryptocurrencies. Basically, cryptocurrencies, or I'll talk about Bitcoin, which is like the most famous cryptocurrency, are something incredible, which basically, in a few words, is virtual money, purely virtual money.
What does virtual money mean?
Basically, just like a bill that you can actually hold in your hand and use to buy physical things, virtual money.
Bitcoin. You can actually buy physical things, but through the network, through the internet.
When discussing Bitcoin, we consider its essence. For instance, think back to 1995 when the internet emerged. Imagine a grandfather says, "Grandpa, do you know there's a network that connects us with the whole world?"
And the grandfather says, "What are you talking about? Internet? Oh, leave that alone. That's dangerous. That's dangerous. Or it's this or that. I don't know what you're talking about."
"No, Grandpa, but look, I can connect with my friend who lives in the United States and this and that, with the family who moved to that country."
"Look, it's impressive," Grandpa says. "Really? Is it really like that?"
That is what the internet was for communication about 30 years ago. Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies are the future of money.
It's impressive.
Now you might ask yourself, well, I get it, virtual money is something very esoteric. How does this work?
I'm going to give you some very simple, very concrete examples so you can understand.
And imagine, let's first talk about the concept of money. Imagine yourself in your neighborhood. You are, for example, a gardener, let's go with gardener, and you have a friend who is a milkman and another friend who is a carpenter.
And just like that, imagine.
All your neighbors have a specific trade.
Assume they're short on cash, offer to work for them, like saying,
"As a gardener, I can come fix up your garden for you.
How much do I pay you?"
You give someone an amount, but they respond, "As you know, there's no coins or money here. What should we do?" "Well, you're a milkman, so I'll fix your garden and you give me so many liters of milk, so much butter." And that's basically how they barter. And the same with the carpenter, and so on. Imagine a network of friends and neighbors where each one basically exchanges their work for another service. Now imagine the carpenter makes an amazing table, really amazing. He really spent a month on it, and the milkman says, "I'd love to buy the table from you." "Why not? You can buy it. But as we know in the example, there's no money, so how can you buy it?" So how much milk does he have to give, or how much butter does the milkman have to give to buy that table? Basically, that value you give is what we call money today, the value that things have. But before money existed, there was bartering. Therefore, organizations known as banks or governments began to appear, state, governmental, financial entities that basically centralized the power of money. Now, as you know, for example, the concept of inflation, what does it mean? It means that money starts to lose value. For example, you say, 5 years ago with $100 I could buy this or that, but today to buy the same thing I need $120, $130.
What does it mean that there was inflation? Does it mean the dollar lost its value?
Therefore, what Bitcoin has is that Bitcoin has a maximum number of coins that can be issued, which is 21 million coins.
Therefore, the concept of inflation does not exist.
Now, what does exist? There are rises and falls in its value.
Why?
Because the value of Bitcoin is tied to the credibility that people have in Bitcoin. For example, if there is a lot of demand for Bitcoin, it means that people believe in Bitcoins, the value goes up because people demand it, they believe in it. But if people start selling Bitcoins, what does that mean? If they sell, it means they don't believe the price will go up, so that price will be devalued, it will be lower. Therefore, Bitcoin is incredible in terms of the potential wealth one can obtain if it really grows. And there's a lot of loyalty from the community. And there's a strong belief that it's going to go up, that Bitcoin is going to rise. The price increases with high demand and decreases when demand is low. Therefore, it's something very volatile. Now, let's get a little deeper into what Bitcoin is and how it works. I'm going to give you some very simple examples, and then we'll go into a much deeper level. That's what I said. A Bitcoin expert will surely be interested in this video if they listen to the end. All right, let me give you an example. How does Bitcoin work? Bitcoin, as I mentioned, is virtual money. You might wonder, how do you buy virtual money like Bitcoin? All right, first, basically you open an app, just like you download an app on your phone. There are apps called wallets where you keep your virtual money in your wallet on your phone. Now how? You get Bitcoins by buying them just like any product where virtual exchanges are made. The exchanges, for example, there are famous ones, there are more well-known ones, less well-known ones. Binance, for example, there are exchanges that are more famous than others. And you buy there. It's like a supermarket for Bitcoins and exchange, and that's where you buy. Now, a Bitcoin today has a very high value, but you can say, well, I want to invest in Bitcoins. $100. So the app for buying Bitcoins automatically calculates how many Bitcoins you can buy. For example, with $100, it shows you 0.0, meaning it does the calculation instantly. Because also, as we said, Bitcoin can go up or down from one day to the next. Therefore, it's something totally up to date, and so you can buy as much Bitcoin as you want. I have to tell a really incredible story. In the year 2010, the first purchase with Bitcoins, as far as I know, was a purchase of 2 pizzas. For the amount of 10,000 Bitcoins at that time, in 2010, do you know how much that would be worth today? 10,000 Bitcoins? More than $600 million. Imagine 2 pizzas for more than $600 million. That was at the time. It was just starting out, obviously. And this person named, if I remember correctly, Laszlo, is the first person who bought, I remember, on May 22, 2010. And every year there's like a birthday for that day. Pizza Bitcoin, which was that big, the first big purchase of 2 pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoins, I mean, it was incredible. But what I want to tell you is that Bitcoin, if you have $50,200, you can break it up. You can buy for your account, your wallet, your ticket, your purse, a part of a Bitcoin. I mean, you don't need to buy a whole Bitcoin. The price is quite high, but obviously, like I said, it goes up and down depending on the moment. Very well then. Therefore, we have Bitcoin, we have the wallet, then we have the exchange where you buy, and then I'll tell you how it works because you can go. All right. And what if someone hacks the system, like it has happened with banks, where someone can have money in a bank, hacks the bank's computer, and steals people's money? This is something incredible about Bitcoin. Bitcoin works with what is called the blockchain. What is the blockchain? It's basically a chain of blocks or digital bricks, which is like a big ledger. Think of it as big accounting blocks with lots of transactions. Every transaction made in Bitcoin is recorded in those big ledgers. It's like Google Docs, where everyone who has access to Bitcoins can see the transactions, but they can't manipulate them. But when it's a transaction, your transaction is recorded in that big virtual ledger on those thousands of virtual computers. Therefore, hacking is almost impossible. Because think about it. If someone wants to make something up, if they have something or want to hack one of the Bitcoin computers, they can't hack thousands of computers because everything is online, everything is connected, and every transaction in every block, in every virtual brick contains all the transactions. On a practical level, you can say that you buy 1 or more Bitcoins depending on your available funds and investment goals.
How can I buy things? Just like I want to buy something on Amazon, or I want to buy something in my country, a book or whatever. I mean, how do I do it? Very well. There are places that accept bitcoins just like they accept credit cards. For example, do you want to apply for a finance course, for example, or do you want to buy a specific product? That is anything you can, and that place accepts bitcoins. What do? Do you pay with bitcoins? So that person, for example, sends you a code. You enter that code in your virtual wallet, and just like sending a WhatsApp message, you send it. In minutes, you already have, for example, the application approved for your finance course, for example, or you buy the product you want. It's like buying with a credit card, but with bitcoins. But what's the big difference here? The big difference is that there's no organization controlling it. It's controlled by the collective, and that's impressive. And now I'm going to dive into the deeper part. The deeper part is the following, which you basically need to know. As you know, my channel focuses on discussing Torah, Judaism, and spirituality. I want you to know that in my videos, I aim to help us perceive reality from a spiritual perspective. Bitcoin, the internet, robotics, and artificial intelligence, all the technological advancements happening today, it is not an accidental occurrence in the universe's history. Clearly not. I'm going to give you 2 biblical prophecies now, and we're going to end the video with this, because it's amazing how you, with your own eyes, can see how prophecy happens today. With cryptocurrencies, bitcoins, the internet, artificial intelligence, all the abundance that exists in the world today, it's impressive. Compare it to just a few decades ago. We don't have to go back thousands of years. The abundance that exists, the comfort that exists, but everything is fleeting. God is leading this world to its perfection. Therefore, the prophecies that a long time ago, not so long ago, seemed impossible to understand, today we understand them. I'm going to give you just 2 prophecies. There are many more. 2 prophecies. The first is the prophecy of Isaiah, chapter 11, verse 9. It says like this, I'm skipping a bit, but it says like this: the earth will be filled with the knowledge of God as the waters cover the sea. And the next one is from Amos. The prophet Amos says this in chapter 8, verse 11. It says, "Behold, the days are coming, says God, when I will send a famine on the earth, not a hunger for bread nor a thirst for water, but for hearing the words of God." That is to say, we must understand, as our sages explain, for example, that in the future even the trees will produce bread. This is also metaphorical. We must grasp the symbolism of abundance being so great that it's visible in a tree. A whole loaf of bread to eat, not just taking the wheat and grinding it and all that. That is to say, it's also an example of the abundance we live in today and helps us understand the world we live in. For example, I recently made a video about what will happen in the coming days, which is Israel's Independence Day, which is basically the day that God decides. Obviously, redemption is going to take a very, very, very definite step toward the final redemption, which is that the people of Israel return to Israel. Just as the prophet Amos also says at the end of the book of the prophet Amos, that God gathers all the Jews from all corners of the earth. I say it in my own words and the prophecy, and obviously it comes true. And we see it. And the gardens will bear fruit, and we will see the wine from the gardens of Israel. This seems simple, but you have to remember that for 2,000 years, the land was barren and desert. It's only recently that the land has flourished because the people returned to the land. It's like a body. The land is like the body and the people are like the soul. They come together and flourish. And that's how the prophecies are fulfilled. Therefore, everything we've talked about, bitcoins, personal finance, the whole topic of artificial intelligence, all of this is obviously very, very, very connected to what's happening in the world. On a spiritual level, obviously, you have to know that the material world is a reflection of the spiritual world. Just as it is written that there is the Jerusalem of the heavens and the Jerusalem of the earth, there is basically a connection between the spiritual world and the material world. Therefore, you have to know that God, in His infinite love for His creatures, is leading His world toward perfection. And He is giving us an abundance that is unlimited. And things like Bitcoin, which we basically said is something decentralized. It doesn't depend on organizations that can falter or go bankrupt. It also depends on the trust within the collective. That's also an impressive value. It's an impressive value that within the collective, there's trust, there's credibility. It's something incredible. Also, the networks, the connection. Obviously, unfortunately, there are people who take it to a bad place. Like everything in life, is the internet good or bad? Obviously, it depends if you take it to a good place, if you use it for good for your work, to study Torah, to improve your personal qualities. Excellent. If unfortunately someone uses it for bad, it's their decision. God gives the book to the individual to choose life, and it is written, you shall choose life. Therefore, I like it a lot and I think it's very important. That's why I said it's very relevant. Also by a Bitcoin expert who understands things like personal finance, Bitcoins, and artificial technology. Your surroundings greatly influence your world. It's similar to how God guides the world towards perfection. Consider the time we have now. Doing laundry used to take much longer in the past compared to today. Artificial intelligence can be activated with just a button press. You want to write a paper, you want to have a summary of a book, you want help at work, you just say a few words and you get something amazing. Everything is becoming digital, like Bitcoins and virtual money. You can now avoid going to the bank and paying commissions. Bitcoin has no commissions, everything is free. I mean, it's just what Bitcoin costs. It's really impressive. And all this time that God gives us, the question I want to ask you, and to close the video, is what do we do? What do we do with this abundance and this time? And this is the reflection I want to use to start wrapping up this video. Please share your thoughts in the comments. What's your opinion? What did you think? Would you like to tell me? Would you like me to talk more about personal finance, Bitcoins, artificial intelligence? Let me know in the comments. Tell me your thoughts, and that way I can tell you. That way I can tell you. And really, something I just remembered, if you're not part of my community yet. Beloved Israel High Community, I invite you to write the word community in the comments. To write to the WhatsApp number that appears down here, to my WhatsApp number of the community. You can ask questions. And basically, Israel High. My community is a community in which we are connected with each other. Israel High provides a spiritual community for those feeling alone, allowing them to connect with Israel and contribute positively. It's an incredible opportunity. Can you ask me questions through WhatsApp on my phone? Gatherings, seminars, courses, and actions are organized to support Israeli soldiers. The soldiers' families, boys, girls, wives, it's impressive. So, well, having said all this, I want to end with this question. With all the abundance we have, with all the time we have, what do we do? Before, there was very little time and little abundance. The question is, God gives you the possibility to choose life. Tell me, what will you do with this abundance and the time that God gives you? May everything be filled with success and blessings.